Are we live?
Wait minute. We are live.
A very good evening to all of you. I'm Professor Shireen Moti, Assistant Professor of Law at OP Jindal Global University and the Chairperson for the Committee on Academic Support for Higher Education and Learning. CASHL aims at advising students and alumni of Jindal Global Law School wanting to apply for postgraduate courses at foreign universities. I extend a very warm welcome to all of you to the 14th CASHL webinar on all about the LLM program at King's College London. We're delighted to have Ms. Palak Bail, International Officer at King's College London, as a guest speaker for today's webinar. Welcome, Palak. Ms. Palak has about a decade of work experience in the education sector, including outreach and academics as an assistant professor, marketing. Currently in her role, she works as an international officer at King's College London and looks after undergraduate and postgraduate admissions in India, along with stakeholder relationships. Today, we are delighted to have her here with us, and she's the best person to speak about admissions to King's College London. Over the course of this webinar, she's going to give us a detailed presentation about the application process for the admissions to King's College London, and she has extended her presence for also answering any kind of questions from the students. So over to you, Palak.
Thank you, Shane, and thank you everybody for joining in. I know it's late in the day and we've all had like a hectic day. So I'll try to keep it as short and only kind of touch upon the sides that I think will be useful. So yeah, without wasting much time, I'll get with the presentation. I've already been introduced. So I'm the International Officer for King's College London. Currently, I am based in Delhi and I look after India as a whole for undergraduate and postgraduate admissions. Jindal, of course, is a great university, and we have so many students each year who go to Jindal, who go to King's, and we also have a lot of successful alumni who are now faculty with OP Jindal. So we share this connection with, which is, OP Jindal is very close to us with that aspect. So we'll start with during the flow of the presentation, I'll try to explain some bits of information that I think is useful for you to make a decision as to what course or what college or what continent should be a part of your research. And also share some bits on the kind of questions that I am usually asked by students. So hopefully that will give you some answers if that's in your mind as well. So how do you make the best choice in terms of overseas higher education in law? Because there are tons and tons of opportunities available and there's no one best for approach that fits all. So there are various kinds of questions and research that actually fuels in your decision. So some of the basic questions you can start with, what is the kind of heritage of the university and of course of the department. So a lot of students that I speak to tend to make this mistake of just looking at rankings of the university as a whole and not looking a step below in terms of their subject specific ranking. So I'll say, don't get obsessed with rankings, but have a fair sense in terms of where the university ranks across the globe and also how good is that particular university in terms of that particular subject. If you're looking for law for that matter here, so law. So what is the location? That is also important because as an international student, that's what we've always heard as a feedback. The more central you are, the more opportunities you're connected to. But of course, that also means that central London is expensive. So your budgeting game has to be really strong. It's similar, if somebody from outside wants to come and study in India, now they have an option of for example, an institute that is right in the heart of the city, or some people also prefer outskirts because they don't want to get distracted by the hustle. So like I said, there's no correct answer to this. It's all based on your preferences, but what is important is that you figure out your preferences and then you align your research with that, right? So who are the alumni, who are the academics? Very, very important, because alumni is not only show the legacy of the university, but a lot of alumni also help you with networking, getting jobs, and generally also it's a good sense and a good testament of how the university is, right? So of course, who are the academics who will be teaching you, what kind of researches have they undertaken, what kind of books have they written. So a lot of times you'll also find academics at King's who will be teaching from the books that they've written, and those books are studied worldwide, because we have, of course, one of the bestest law department in the world. So we have a very proud heritage. We were founded in 1829, close to about 200 years old of our existence. We were the founding college of University of London. We are also part of the Russell Group. So for those of you who don't know, Russell Group is a group of 24 research-intensive universities in the UK. And it's pretty much like the gold standard of academia. And also it's often used as an analogy with like an Ivy League education in the UK. So our law school is pretty old. It was established in 1831, and as per rankings, we are top 35 in the world, which is with Times Higher Education ranking. With QS, we are top 37 in the world currently. So we've produced we've produced 14 Nobel laureates so far, and this is of course some of our illustrious alumni and academics that you see on the screen. If any of these interest you, please feel free to Google them. I am just being mindful of the time, so I will not get into much details. This is one of my favorite slide to actually speak about. This is our location. So we have not one but 5 campuses in the heart of central London. Law, of course, is taught at 2 campuses. So the Strand campus, which is number 1, as you see on the screen, the number 1 small red box, that is our Strand campus. So most of the classes happen here. Some classes also happen at the Waterloo campus. So that's how that's how King's is. So if you see on the screen, so all the red boxes that you see on the screen are either hospitals, libraries, campuses that are owned and managed by King's. So it's spread across central London. It might look very spread out on the screen, but it's not as spread out. It's all walking distance and short bus rides from each other. All the small purple boxes that you see on the screen are either famous tourist landmarks such as London Eye, or any institutes of importance such as the Royal Courts of Justice and Shakespeare's Globe, etc. So that is what King's location is. So for those of you who visited London before, will of course understand it much better. But all of this is central London. So yeah, that was about our location. I'll also show you a picture of the Strand campus in the following slide, just to give you a sense of how that looks. That's our base campus for teaching law, like I mentioned. London has also been awarded as the #1 student city in the world multiple times in the row now, and that's of course for obvious reasons. Being in central London, of course, presents a lot of opportunities with it. But I think the only thing you have to be mindful about is to budget well. So because of the location, so the students studying law can just walk to Royal Courts of Justice, experience what they're kind of studying, etc. Lots of benefits with that. But yes, being in central London, we will have to budget well, so that you can sustain in that living expense. So that was about our location. If you're interested in any of the closer looks to our campuses, there are always virtual tours that are available on Google or our website, so you can check that out. This is a Strand campus, which is the base campus for law, and I personally visited it, and it's an exceptionally beautiful building. This picture actually does not, it's not even doing like a 50% justice to how beautiful this actually is. So it's extremely beautiful. The other campus I can mention is the Waterloo, so that picture not included. You can check that on the website. This is a Mon library, which is the main 24/7 university library. It's an iconic piece of architecture in itself, exceptionally beautiful, and it's an experience in itself and a sight to just see it as well. So the questions we discussed before were, of course, the macro level set of questions. But when we go, at a little funnel it down to a micro level. So what are the rankings like? Like we discussed, rankings are important. to get a fair sense of the course of the university, how is it placed in comparison to other universities, etc. But don't make it a sole decision-making factor. And although King's is extremely well ranked, but still I usually suggest students that rankings alone should not be a deciding factor, because a lot of Indian students specifically are extremely obsessed with rankings and they make their decisions solely based on that. The reason why I say that is because uh, the kind of factors that go behind ranking, all of them might not even be as important to you, right? So rankings are that one number of ranking is emerged out of a lot of factors that go behind. Some might be relevant, some might not be relevant to you, right? So what is the quality of the course? That of course you get a fair sense with rankings, but it's thoroughly recommended that you check the course contents, the course modules. So for example, with 9 pathways to law, right? Now what interests you? What do you want to, what have you done so far and what do you want to do in your career? That will help you align with the modules. Don't just go with the course name, because different universities might offer the same course, but what they actually teach under that will be different, and how they teach it will also be different. So it's important that you look at the course modules and see where your interest lies, right? So what opportunities and career support can I get? This is again very, very important, because as a student, it's not just academics, but also other things that are very, very relevant to a student's journey. So what kind of a career support in terms of employment, internships, networking opportunities, student societies does that particular university have? What kind of opportunities exist with, inside the classroom, outside the classroom, so many different things. Very important is, am I eligible? So you might want to study at a certain university, but it's also important that you qualify with that eligibility criteria. Some universities, of course, are more strict than the others. So King's, for example, is extremely strict with their requirements. So whatever is mentioned as a prerequisite needs to be met for your application to just be assessed. In no way does it guarantee an offer, but it's just for your application to get assessed if you meet the minimum entry requirements. And law in particular is extremely competitive. It's one of the best law schools in the world, which means it attracts a lot of high quality applications, which also make it more competitive because the number of seats are defined, and the more the number of applications, the more competitive it gets. So if you're looking for funding, does that university provide a particular funding or not? Does that fit in your budget or not? So all of these are important criteria as well. So of course, like I've already discussed, because we're in heart of central London, this is the picture of the Queen that when she visited us. So we have a lot of prominent visitors that visit us because of our location, and it's not just location also. It's a lot of industry connects and tie-ups that we have. So for example, we have a tie-up with PwC for our legal clinic, right? Lots of other things that happen. So yeah. Right. So sorry, getting into some facts and figures. So UGs, I think not important here. So we have close to about 900 plus postgraduate law students each year. This is for law. And we have 50% research rated as a world leading research. We are, you can see the interesting stats on the screen. So we are 15th in the world and 5th in the UK for law as per the QS 2022 rankings, which is a great ranking to be at. We have interdisciplinary set of courses. We have a legal clinic with PwC, like I said. We do lots of mooting and professional practices and careers. So we have the Law Professional Institute, which will help you with your SQE preparation and lots of other things. There'll be interesting short courses on law, etc. So this is what basically and very broadly the department offers. Now, of course, it's not possible to share everything across in about a 45 minutes webinar, but there's lots of information available on the web page, the course page, and also on Google. So you can always check that out. It's highly recommended that you speak to current students who are doing law or alumni who finished law, and specifically with the university. Am I audible? Shireen, am I audible?
Yes, you're audible.
Right. Okay, thank you. So OP Jindal, for that matter, you will find tons and tons of alumni and even your faculty. So I met, one of your faculties who I met in my last offer holder, she's teaching there. So they will be able to provide you some great feedback on what you can expect at King's, right? And of course, you can also discuss with them in terms of if you have a pathway confusion or what do you need to put in your application and things like that. So that will give you a fair sense. Also, don't just confine yourself to what happens in the classroom. Also check with them what societies they join in. How did they make the most of the career service division? What events did they attend? What kind of a help did they get? Any learnings that they have to share with you? How did they connect with the employer that they are now employed with? What route did they choose? Are they practicing? Did they get into teaching? Did they get into corporates? Why did they do that? And all of those things. So that will help you cement your research better, I feel. So yeah. We have a video. I'm not sure if you will be able to hear it. So I think you can skip. Is it audible?
The video is not audible, but you could try changing a few settings maybe.
Yeah, I'll have to, I think.
Or if there is a link to it, you can share it on the chat.
No, I'll skip it. It's fine. I'll skip it because I'll
All
start
right.
the presentation. Yeah. Right. So what I understand is pretty much all of you are studying law, but I've put this slide on the screen just in case somebody is studying law and wants to pursue another alternate course in their postgrad. So we do have 9 faculties and about 200 plus courses. Of course, law is very common of them, but I've just put in other options as well, just in case if you're looking at an alternate. So we have STEM set of courses. We have health, politics and social sciences, law, management and business, and arts and humanities. Now it's not possible to put everything on the screen with 200 different courses. So I've just picked up a few and put it, but the website is honestly the best place to do your research. And applying to a university abroad, research will be a mandatory part of your application journey. So spend some considerable time on that because you'll be spending your one prime year, pretty much most of you, I think, will do your postgrad only once, and it's a handsome amount to pay as well. So you might as well do like a well thought out decision of what you want to study. So these are the subjects that we have on offer for postgrad. Now with law in particular, what can you study? So the LLM programs are what is listed here. Now, of course, then there are MA and MSc programs. So you can also check the website for more details with any addition of programs that they've done, etc. So you can study this one. So there's another law professional practices programs that is launched that is for 2 years. That's for somebody who's not done law before, but I don't think that's relevant to the audience that we have. What's my understanding is that all of you are doing law right now. So these are the programs that you have. Again, at a particular site, for example, something like international tax law might be interesting to you, but when you actually go through the course modules of these programs, you might realize, no, then something like I will be more interested with international financial law with what I've done so far and what kind of a practice if I want to do in the future, right? So my recommendation to you would be take some time out and go through each course module for a better understanding and speak to current students who will be able to help you with that. So this is how the teaching and structure looks like. This is a snapshot from the web page itself. So when you go on the course page, you will see the course essentials, the entry requirements, which I will touch in the following slides. Teaching and structure, so it's a combination of lecture, seminar, self-study, which means that some of the modules will be taught in large lecture theaters of probably 200, 300 students. Some courses will be group courses with 10, 12 students in a group. Some modules will be in a classroom setting of 30 to 40 students, etc. So that's how it is. And a lot of students also ask me when I meet them that how many hours in a week do we study, etc. So of course, all days are not equal, but overall students usually have like 6 to 10 contact hours a week. But at the back end, there's also a lot of self-study, preparing for the class, because the classroom teaching there happens in a lot of dialogue. It's not a monologue, right? So you have to prepare yourself well to participate in those discussions, to do your project works, etc. So yeah, you can read this on the website itself. So, but that's how broadly the teaching structure looks like. Now that was about inside classroom. Outside classroom, there's lots of interesting things to do. I think this kind of uh, things also makes us so highly ranked, because this is the kind of exposure that is given to our law students, which is why it's extremely popular with students. So we have the, like I said, the legal clinic with BWC, where it's of course I mean, it's very, very useful with exposure into actually implement and practice what you're looking, I mean, what you're studying in your textbooks. With the professional law institute, lots of mooting that happens. One of the most famous, I mean, the mooting is extremely famous. So lots of student societies based on law. So we have 300 plus societies in total. We also have law student societies under those 300. So law career service division. So we have a separate career service division only for our law department, because we understand that law is very technical. So it needs a lot of preparation to be employable, you know. So you're getting graduated from one of the best law schools in the world is one thing, you know. So of course employers will value that degree, but it's also a lot, but it is a very competitive space, right? So you have to be very well equipped. You have to be very well placed to be in those interviews, and you know, and in turn that into employment. So we have a career service division which is dedicated to law, which who will help you find opportunities, connect you with employers, organize events, organize like technical sessions with you for interviews, mock interviews, CVs, and all of those things. But from the student, we also expect them to be pretty proactive and attend that. So now, how do you apply for masters? All applications for masters is made directly on the King's website, which is apply.kcl.ac.uk. What we need is your transcripts, statement of purpose, extremely important document, because we don't have interviews and law is extremely competitive. So that those 4,000 characters, not words, 4,000 characters would pretty much I mean, help us assess if you're the right fit for the university or not, right? CV, of course, is optional. There's no references required for LLM. Usually we need it for all other subjects, but because of competition, we don't accept any references for LLM. So we don't need LORs. So pretty much the transcript, statement of focus, and there's a CV that is option, and of course the English language test score that is also important. So IELTS, TOEFL, or the PTE. Now applications open in October. We don't have a rolling admission process, so it's not on first come first served basis. The deadline is 6th of March, but this is a soft deadline because like I said, we are very selective. So the number of offers that we roll out till the time we don't enroll the quality of students with offers that we wish to, it's open. So right now, also law is still open because we've not rolled out those number of offers yet. But it's very volatile and dynamic, so it can close anytime soon. So if you are looking for 2023 intake, then I mean, you can still apply, but don't delay it further, because it can close anytime. So the average processing time for application is at least 6 to 8 weeks. It could take longer depending on what time of the year you're applying at, but this is usually the average time that it takes. Right. So when we just going back to the slides further, when we mentioned that are you eligible for that particular university? So that is important. If you're looking at King's or any other university, please double check their entry requirements, and also try to find out how strict that university is. So for King's, I can answer that King's is extremely strict. And it's not that if you have this score, you will get an offer. If you have that score, that means that you're eligible for your application to get assessed. Now, over and above that, your personal statement will make a very important, it's a deal breaker document, because we don't even have LOR. So usually for other courses, LOR and personal statement are deal breaking documents, right? But here you don't even have LOR. So the personal statement becomes extremely important. We'll discuss personal statement in some more depth as we move along the presentation. But for you to explain entry requirements, so a lot of students get confused when they go on the King's website under the course page. Under entry requirements, they'll see a high to 1 or a 2:1, and they see that as a percentage, right? So that is not valid to you. That is a UK qualification. So that will not that will not define your eligibility. So we have to go under the Indian eligibility section, which is the international entry requirement. Choose India from the drop down. Now we categorize Indian universities into three categories: highly prestigious, prestigious, and recognized. That list only represents, and based on which category of university you are studying in, that will help us determine your eligibility, right? So for OP Jindal, the earlier it was in the prestigious category. We moved it now, I think last year or last to last year, into the highly prestigious category. So what I've understood with my experience that OP Jindal has different kinds of scales. So either if there is a 10 scale, or there's also a 8 scale, there's also a 4 scale, etc. So I'll try to cover every scale possible that is in my knowledge, so that you can figure out if you're eligible. So if you have this is based as per the highly prestigious university category. So if you are based, if you have a 10 scale, then we will need a 7 on 10. If you have a 8 scale, we will need a 6 on 10. If you have a 4 scale, we will need a 3.2 in over 4. And if you have a percentage that I'm not aware of, then we will need a 65%. So that is what the eligibility is. I will again repeat it if you want to note it down, because this information is not available on the website. This only we as international officers will be aware of. So 7 on 10, 6 on 8, 3.2 on 4, and if you have a percentage, then 65%. This is an aggregate of your undergrad scores, right? English language test score, like I said, it is mandatory. So either IELTS, TOEFL, or the PTE. Usually, so IELTS we need a band B, which is 7 overall, and 6.5 in each section. We have to meet both these requirements, right? Right. So the tuition fee for LLM is close to about £32,000. Next year it could increase a little, which every year there is a slight increase. This is for this year, so it's 31,980. This is just the tuition fee. Living expense will be about £15,000 a year. This is, of course, if because you're in Central London, it is expensive, so you have to budget well. And this 15,000 is not something that you can eat out every day, party every day, and all of those things, and you still land up with that budget. You have to budget well. You have to learn to cook. You have to, learn to manage, your student discount cards and all of those things. So lots of other things there as well. Scholarships, we had it for last year, the scholarship for Kings, which was a pretty good scholarship, released in June. So this year, if it will come or not, we don't know, but there are also external scholarships as well. So you can check the British Council website or Google. So that is on scholarships. Right. So now getting into personal statements, I'm not sure how much are we with time. So yeah, it's 8:30.
Good with time, Palak. Please go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. So like personal statement is extremely important. Like I said, key for competitive courses, 4,000 characters, motivation, aptitude, and domination is what needs to be reflected broadly. You aren't given a prompt like US. So UK personal statements is pretty much a blank canvas, which is of course a plus, and it could be a con depending on how well prepared you are. A lot of students they forget to make it personal. It's called personal for a reason, right? So it has to be your story weaved in. It's not supposed to be the best personal statement on Google, because there is no correct answer to it, right? Somebody with a 9 on 10 could have a rejection, versus somebody with 7 on 10 could have an offer based on how they've projected themselves as a story, and then how much the fit is with the university, right? So that is important. This is bits on structuring. So this is, of course, this is not set in stone, but this is how you can structure. So motivation, aptitude, your academic achievements, further experiencing, extracurricular. UK personal statements are very academic in nature, so it has to be about 80 to 85% should be academic focused, right? Which is that whatever you've done even outside the classroom needs to tie back to the course. So these could be any internships, volunteering, any books, TED Talks, Coursera courses, anything basically. So if you're applying for law, it has to be relevant to law, right? So explain, evidence, eliminate, explain what you've gained. Don't just mention that I've done this particular internship with this particular lawyer. So what have you gained out of it is very important. Evidence, of course, get into the evidence of what you've done, how you've done, etc. Eliminate sentences that don't add value. For example, if you're a national level football player, and if it's not tying back to law, my suggestion is don't put it, right? Because 4,000 characters does not seem so much to kind of weave in your whole story, right? Now, opening lines to definitely avoid. So um, this is not a very great way to start a well-drafted personal statement. So from a very young age, I've always been interested in law. Law is very challenging and demanding as a career. I'm currently studying law. These are not the most perfect ways, right, to start a personal statement. So these are the things that you can include. So key skills, competencies, work very, very important to attend case studies, public lectures for universities you are interested for, because it shows your interest and motivation to study that subject for that particular college, right? And at a postgrad level, it's very important to be university focused with your application, because at an undergrad we use UCAS, right? So we can't be specific to university, we have to be specific to the course. But at a postgrad level, it's very important to be specific for course and universities, right? So what not to include plagiarism, please don't plagiarize it. It's a big offense in the UK, and they have very, very strong softwares to figure that out. Use UK spelling because you're applying to UK universities. Excessive use of thesaurus, beautifying, etc. is not needed for law. I've seen a lot of students being very obsessed to beautify each word and put a most complicated word, etc. That's not really important for, I mean, of course, it's important if you're applying for an English literature course, not for law. Irrelevant quotes, etc. is something that's not needed. You don't have to start with the quote, end with the quote, and all of those things. Something that's not recommended is not put what you've done in bullet points, right? I've read this is book, I've done this is internship. All of this is not important. What is important is you have to be reflective of the fact and tell what you've gained out of it, right? So a lot of students ask me that I have done only 3 things, but my classmate has done 10. Do they stand at an advantage? So my answer to them is 2 things. One, depends how much of those 3 things are relevant, one, and how do you put it across is also relevant, right? So then, because the admission committee will not even meet you before this, right? So it's doing something is one thing, and how you portray to your advantage and link into the course is another thing. So that needs to be very, very strong. So for example, if you're teaching underprivileged, this is of course not specifically law, but generally, I'm just trying to tell you how to put it. So if you're teaching underprivileged children a subject of English after your college hours. So one way to mention it is, I've been teaching underprivileged children the subject of English. Another way to mention it is, I've spent time teaching the subject of English to 30 underprivileged children, and each of them has scored a distinction in their examination. So that's another way to bring that same statement out, right? So that, what I'm trying to say is, words play a very, very important role of whatever you're mentioning in your personal statement. Wrapping up and concluding is extremely important as well. So these are the some points. It has to basically tie back and weave into a full story, right? So don't, of course, repeat every line that you've written in your conclusion, but some things to avoid is also, I've put some points so you can kind of quickly read that to take a picture of whatever. Right. So starting early definitely helps. Speak to current students definitely helps. You can also, put down your personal statement, record it in your own voice and listen to it. Sometimes what happens is, you're trying to put across something by writing. You think that it's sounding what you're thinking it is. But when you actually hear it out, you might need to rearrange certain paragraphs, delete something, add something to bring what you want to bring out. Right? So that is important. Discuss with your friends or seniors, whatever, if you have support in college, your professors, etc. So all of that is important. So just last bits of slides. I know I'm just being mindful of the time in the sense. So with opportunities and careers, we are ranked 4th in the UK for graduate employability. I've already discussed about the career service division team. They help you with internships, jobs, etc. Help you prepare for jobs as well, connect you with employers with events. We also, of course, have the graduate immigration route now. So the 2-year post-study work visa is a good feather in this whole process. Law career service, like I've already said, they help you with a lot of, we have a law fair specifically, networking and all of those things. So all of that information, of course, you'll also find on the internet. But if you know current students, your seniors, faculties who've experienced things, they'll be able to tell you much more depth here. Okay? So we also have things accommodation. We also have a specific accommodation just for PG as well. So you can also stay in private accommodation if you wish to, because of the location, there's no dearth of that as well. But of course, with various options, it will vary. So, yeah. So like I said, Go beyond the course name and the university and rankings to make your decision. Start your research early and find the perfect match for you. There is no one perfect university in the world, right? It all depends on what your preferences are. If you're eligible, funding is important, what the fee range is, what kind of modules is taught, what and all of those factors, right? So thank you so much. I'll end the screen now.
Thank you so much, Palak, for that detailed presentation. It was very good to comprehensively know about the admission process, and you were kind enough to take us through the intricacies of the application process, including the personal statement and what is the demand of the application materials. It was really, really helpful to hear. There are a few questions that we've received from the students over email and over chat as well. The first question, which is repeatedly appearing in the emails, is with respect to job opportunities after completion of the LLM program. Many of our students would like to stay back in the UK. So is it possible practically to find a good job opportunity? If you could throw some light on that.
Of course, it's possible, but like I said, the space is also competitive. So the kind of university you're graduating from makes a difference with employers. There are definitely opportunities because even after recession, etc., we still see a lot of vacant opportunities because there are not enough competent people to take this, right? So in India, usually they have a concept of 100% job guarantee placement and all this, and these things don't happen anywhere outside. They will equip you, they will try to put all the skills in you, they'll connect you with employers, they'll teach concepts like networking, etc. But then it's also on you to take it forward from there, right? So, and it's not just UK or India. I mean, our law students are pretty much working across the globe, doing some fantastic things with corporates, practicing, teaching, going for further research and things like that. So there are lots of options available. But yeah, because PG is just a one-year course with King's, you don't have much like undergraduate. It's for 3 years, so you can wake up in the second year's second half. Kind of now I'll do it. PG is just 1 year extensive study, lots of extensive study because usually master's 2 years, but with King's because it's 1 year, then it's a lot of what do I say? Lots of intensive things, and it's a cultural change from India. There you have to manage a lot of things, so it gets overwhelming, which is why before even going to King's, you should do your research. Like I said, speak to seniors who ask them what kind of clubs and societies did they join, what kind of networking opportunities did they I mean, were they a part of, and people there. I have heard stories where people have landed into employment because they were traveling with the same person in the tube there, right? They just spoke to them, and yeah, that's because networking, unfortunately, in India, it's not given the due importance. I see so many people, even postgrad students from exceptionally good institutes, who don't even have a proper LinkedIn profile at this age, right? Which is a big drawback because these are small things that you need to learn. And with Indian mindset, we are always, and unfortunately, it's not that I was an exception, right? But of course, you learn along the way. So we are always with this mindset of being spoon fed. We will get hand holding if we paid a certain fees. These are the benefits we are entitled to. It doesn't happen anywhere outside. So you leave Kings, leave UK, right? If any country you're going to, these are the first things you have to unlearn to survive there and make the most of your time and money there. You can't hear, you're on mute, Shilin.
Okay. So absolutely, that's very important in terms of networking, and having a proper LinkedIn profile is the key to even getting started when it comes to networking, especially given the UK legal industry. Those are very fine points that you've made. Of course, there are opportunities and there are not enough takers because they also want competent people to sort of apply for those positions. So there is a plethora of things that graduates can really do in the UK. The second question that is cropping up is with respect to supporting your studies in the UK, because the LLM can be an expensive process. So of course you have scholarships that are given by the university, but are there any other external scholarships that students can apply for?
Yeah, like I said, the British Council website usually has a comprehensive list. So there's evening, there's post-secondary scholarship, etc. So some states also offer scholarships. So you have to do a bit of, sometimes third-party organization like HSBC, Tata will also have scholarships. Now, again, we can't give it in a platter to you. We'll have to do that research and find it for yourself. So, yeah.
Exactly. When I would say that, of course, Chevening is a great scholarship, and I've had the pleasure of being a Chevening scholar and being on the board of Chevening.
Of course, you can then guide them. So you're the good person for that. Yeah.
A number of times. And the other scholarships that are actually available to support one's LLM studies in the UK are the Commonwealth Scholarship, the Commonwealth Shared Scholarship. Recently, a student who was being advised by Cashel, personally by me, also won the Felix Scholarship to study at SOAS. So there are a plethora of these scholarships that are available to Indian students. And in fact, because of the ignorance or the lack of awareness, many of the students do not end up applying for these scholarships. The British Council is a great resource in terms of looking at what are the scholarships that are available to Indian graduates. And I encourage all the students to apply for all the available scholarships that there are. And some of them are fully paid scholarships, so one should avail them as well. Last question, Palak, and then we'll end the webinar for today, is what are these essential do's and don'ts of the application process that you would like the students to keep in mind, because it can be a very anxious time for students when they're writing their personal statements. Sometimes they get misguided as well, and their true story does not come out on paper, which can be very detrimental to the prospects of getting an admission at a prestigious college like King's College London. So what are those essential do's and don'ts the students should absolutely keep in mind when working on the application materials?
And first of all, definitely start on time. So I think the moment you enter your final year, that should give you enough time to start it. So first start with a broad funnel of what. First, I think first look at the countries or continents you want to go to. Once you figure that out, then find out the best 10 universities that fit in with the subjects. If you're looking for law, 10 best universities in UK for law. And then start individually researching and attending lectures and taster lectures. All of these are free pretty much, So taster lectures and all of those things. Attend that. Then you'll figure out from the university. Then start matching your entry requirements with course modules and what you're interested in. So once you've reached that level, then start preparing your personal statement. Now, don't do this mistake of putting the same personal statement for 5 different universities or 3 different universities, because every university's culture, ethos, values, teaching, everything is different. So if you're looking at LSE, for example, and SOAS or King's, for example, King's and SOAS are very different in universities, structures, faculties, research, everything. So don't try to copy paste the same personal statement. It will not be reflected as a strong personal statement. So that is important. Personal statement do's and don'ts I've shared, but I usually do an hour-long session on personal statements just alone with examples and everything. So it's too much to cover, but yeah, make it relevant to the course, structure it well, weave in your story well, make it personal, right? You can, of course, speak to students, current students, seniors, and check what did they write in their personal statement, any additional thing that they did. But I mean, of course, then it has to boil down to what you're doing. Don't get into this trap of doing 20 things. And I usually suggest that instead of going broader, go deeper. If you're doing 5 things, you're doing 2 courses, you're doing 2 books, any internship sector, go deeper in that to accumulate your learnings rather than going broad, because then you can't mention it well. So if I'm reading, if I'm an admission tutor, I'm reading your personal statement, I'm not interested to know if you've done 10 internships. I want to know what have you picked from that and what skills have you gained and how will you contribute and add to that, right? To my university. So that is important, that you have to bridge that link well. So broadly that, and I've said it again and again, law, LLM, extremely competitive. It's the Dixon School of Law is one of the best law schools in the world, which means that if you want the chance to study here, you also have to prove that you're a right fit for the university, and that will, I mean, your what do I say? Your motivation, your determination will be reflected from that document as well. Because I don't know you personally, I have not taught you before, I've not met before, I will not be meeting you before the university. So I'll only be able to assess with that one document. Right?
Very well said, Palak. Definitely, I mean, these are some finer points that all students should keep in mind, because that's this one shot that they have in presenting their best selves to the admissions committee. And given the competitive nature of the process, nothing less than the best is going to work for them. So it's really important for them to really present their credentials, their academic potential to the best of their abilities. And there's a method to this madness, which is start early, finish on time, don't copy paste, don't over glorify your achievements, play down your weaknesses. All of these are really the finer points that one needs to keep in mind. I would also like to invite Gaurav to give some closing remarks, and then we can end the webinar for today. Gaurav, are you able to join and speak? So Gaurav is my colleague from the Office of Career Services, and he's been instrumental in organizing this webinar. So thank you, Gaurav, for all your efforts. Thank you, Palak, for being here. And this has been a very, very important process for our students to be having access to you and to being able to understand what is the demand of the application for the admission to the LLM program at King's College London. This has been a very interactive, very important conversation, which I'm sure students are going to benefit from in terms of also the application cycle this time. Thank you, Palak, for taking out the time for speaking about the program in such a detailed manner. And I hope and pray that we'll get many more applications from OP Jindal Global University this time round for King's College London.
Thank you, Shane. Thank you, Gaurav, for helping me organize. And thank you everyone for attending at this hour. You know, I know we're not usually used to. I mean, I'm not used to attending. My brain doesn't function so great, but I hope I could transfer what I knew. And thank you so much, and all the best. And yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Palak. Thank you to all for attending. The webinar for today is ended. Thank you. Bye.